got over the 12 o'clock. My name is Maurel, and I'm Head of Retention for Sport England. Perhaps more important to some of you in the room, I'm also the person standing between you and lunch. So, I have 20 minutes, and then hopefully we'll have time for questions. Sport England is the government-funded body in England, funded by the government and also by sales of national lottery tickets to grow participation in grassroots in England. So by retaining more participants, which is my role, and by growing new participants as well. I'm going to talk today, yes, about the importance of quality and satisfaction in sport. But first of all, before any business, before any entity wants to do anything about growth, about more sales, about pleasing its customers, it actually needs to know who its customers are and use insight. And then I'll move on how we can use that insight to drive better quality and better satisfaction in sport in England. So, first of all, what do we have? We're great. We sit in an ivory tower at Sport England and we just have reams and reams of data. We have numbers, we have graphs, we have research teams that look at data. The key then for myself and the team is to make sure it means something. We have a survey that tells us how much sport, how regularly people do. We survey 200,000 people every year and have done for 5 years to see how sporty they are, what they're doing. We also have a survey that looks at the satisfaction of people in sport. Again, it's the 4th year we're now running it. Exactly what is it that people think of their sport? Be it in a sports club, be it in a talent stream for a sport, or be it those that are literally throwing down a jumper and playing football in a park, any informal participation. We also then have all the governing bodies, which I think you call federations, do their own research and their own digging, to get the most information they possibly can, to try and really deliver quality sports participation. And we have national partners, a couple of whom are here today to speak as well. Right, I mentioned our reams of data, and this is the first of only a very few graphs before I move on to slightly more brighter pictures. This is participation by age. How many people in the country, what percentage, are actually doing sport regularly in England? If we don't know that, we don't know where it's being delivered and at what quality. The two lines, we have the blue line, which is actually what's happening today, and we have the pink line, which is what was happening 4 to 5 years ago. So here, you can see in 5 years, although overall the same number of people are doing sport in England now as in 2007 and 2008, we've lost an awful lot of young people. It was touched on earlier by both speakers in another session by Street Games in the volunteering room. We are losing an awful lot of young people. Can anybody think, maybe throw out the name of which sports, there's 2 key sports that cause this dramatic drop? The biggest one is the one that England are doing very badly at and haven't won anything since 1966. If that helps. Football. Okay, football. Football has lost 10% of all young people aged 16 in 4 to 5 years. They're looking at this, they're digging into this. The other sport there is tennis. Again, 2 sports that we really are pushing to look into what is the quality they are delivering in that age group. The next one is slightly better news. So whereas we lost 16-year-olds, sports are doing quite well in the 20 to 25-year-old age group. If you're a footballer, age 20, you're likely to be a footballer, age 25. It's one of the sports that is keeping people, along with netball, squash and golf. Governing bodies and federations that are working really hard to deliver in that age group that we're trying to learn from. Then this bit. This is a really interesting area because 40 to 50-year-olds, even slightly older, we've actually stretched over a long period of time the sporting participation of the whole nation. We call this group middle-aged men in lycra, the mammals. These are people, and they are men, generally men when we look at the numbers, who are perhaps having a midlife crisis, but they're not buying a Ferrari. They're buying a racing bike, they're buying lycra, and they're going out weekend after weekend, evening after evening, do their running and to do their cycling. It's a dramatic change, and they really are pushing a good quality experience in both these cases. That first graph showed our participation, and this slide gives us the satisfaction angle, so we can see which sports are gaining participants and losing them from what they're delivering. This we're now looking to really what is the quality behind all of this. So we have 10 areas. This comes from a piece of research that was done back in 2008 by the Henry Centre. It's the 10 areas that drive people to be satisfied in sport. So the top few are the areas that are a bit more internal, and the bottom group are a bit more tangible. So at the top you've got things like, I do it for the buzz, I need to be satisfied that I'm getting excited about my sport, I'm getting friends. And at the bottom, it's got to be easy, it's got to be simple, it's got to be cost effective, value for money came up earlier. So that's how we've measured the satisfaction. We then say, because it's quite easy to say that satisfaction automatically means people will do more sport. When we say it makes sense. However, if that was the case, think of the millions all our governments and commercial providers have spent on facilities. Think of the millions, or perhaps hundreds of thousands of coaches that are level 3, that are great, great coaches. And yet we're not dramatically changing participation. So the quality isn't always linked to satisfying people and keeping them in sport. What we do have, over on your left, is a start of a link that those people in the yellow bar that are still participating in sport are satisfied to about 7 to 8 points, and those that dropped out, so those that we surveyed 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, that have left the sport, were less satisfied. And it's interesting to look across the graph to see in which areas it is that people are dissatisfied. So coaches, officials, value for money, these things are really having a major impact on the quality of the experience when people are leaving the sport. This graph I think I'll leave you to look at in the pack if you go online when it's all uploaded. For different sports, there are differences. So sports like golf, snow sports have got dramatic differences between those that are in the sport and satisfied and the level of dissatisfaction with people who leave. That level of dissatisfaction, you should be able to tell. You should see these people in your sports clubs, working with your volunteers to see them dropping out. They're my two graphs. I've now got a bit of explanation of what a couple of the federations that we work with are actually doing. The first one is England Netball. If you remember back to the first slide, England Netball is one of the sports that has really bucked the participation trend. It used to have the traditional 16-year-olds and people slowly dropped out of their sport. They've stopped the decline slightly, and perhaps more importantly, they are growing. They're getting more people into their sport that are aged 20 to 25 to 30. They managed to gather a whole new wave of people that are loving netball. And what they did is they gathered whole areas of their sport together. So they got the talent pool to see what they wanted. They got the coaches. They got all of their general participants. They got school children. They broke them down into different groups and worked out exactly what each of these groups wanted. They dug into the reasons that these people were satisfied. What did they want? What actually was a quality experience for a netballer in England. And this that you see on the slide is what came back. It's called Back to Netball. Every single schoolgirl in England will have played netball by the time she's 16. In fact, probably by the time she's 8 or 9. So they tried to work on the nostalgia. So the top right for you, remember you never forget. 2 young girls, 2 20-year-old girls, saying, remember netball? Remember how great it was at school? Don't forget it, come back, we can give you that quality experience. We've got 2 other girls in the top left to show the kids how it's done. So again, you used to know how it is, but come back to us, we can still deliver to you. And I think my favourite is try chatting to a treadmill. They discovered through the research that actually for netball, the thing that got the girls excited, got the women excited about netball, was actually the social. A quality experience wasn't the best coach. In fact, they'd go and change behind the bushes if there were no changing rooms. They wanted a nice social experience. They wanted to chat. They wanted music. They wanted informal participation. And England Netball managed to get some money together to go to an agency that produced these pictures. And these are all real netballers. They took photos of. They invited to an event to see what they were doing. The next thing that the insight is telling us, and is telling the sports that we work with, is that there's a move to perhaps more informality in sport. That the tradition when we were maybe younger was to go along to your Monday night hockey training, your Tuesday night rugby training, and that meant you were allowed to play if you had many minutes on your Saturday in your competition league. If you missed your Monday night session, you weren't picked for the team. If you didn't turn up on a Wednesday, you didn't do sport for the week, because also at the weekend you weren't allowed to play. There's a real move, as this picture shows, to people not wanting to be in this traditional sports club. If you look here, we've got 4 sports, which are just 4 that I picked out mainly at random. You've got rugby union. So rugby union, you've got the light blue, which is the percentage of people that are in a sports club that currently play rugby union in England. Almost 80%, almost 85% of everyone that is playing weekly rugby union is in a club. It makes sense. Few more rules. It's quite difficult to go down to the park, to find the right ball, and to find the right number of people to play with. Find yourself a referee, find yourself an official. There are still people doing it though that do not want to be tied to a club. So you have to ensure that rugby union are giving an offer to these people, and a quality offer. You get outside the club structure, it starts to get a little bit more difficult to control the quality. It gets our federation a little bit more worried that they're losing the power and the influence. For tennis, about 25% of all tennis players are in a club. And that's quite a surprising number when you think that you drive through most town centres, you'll find a tennis club. If you were to try and find something to do or to play tennis, you would probably go to a club, and yet 75% of all tennis players aren't interested in a club and are getting their tennis from elsewhere. You then get cycling and swimming, where it really is dramatic. These two federations they're not forgetting about their clubs, but they really are working terribly hard to do something outside of their clubs, because there needs to be a quality experience outside the clubs to keep people in these two sports. If British Cycling and the Amateur Swimming Association only concentrate on their clubs, they're going to lose hundreds of thousands of participants. And in the case, sadly, of swimming, they're not concentrating enough, and they are losing hundreds of thousands of participants from regular swimmers. They need to concentrate on a quality experience outside that tight unit where they feel more safe. So we challenge the governing bodies, our federations, to come up with offers, and this is a few that they did. We've got tennis, All Play, up there. It's a dating website, basically. You create your profile, you put which tennis courts you want to play on. So if you're in London, we've got a list of hundreds of sites, some in clubs, a lot in parks, and you just open up your profile and people email you and say, are you free Tuesday in the London club? Are you free Wednesday in the Birmingham club? And people can see, it just literally dates and puts people together, informally, nothing to do with the club. A couple of others on there, you've got Run England, which is training running leaders for people just to go out and run in a local area. No experience necessary, just go out, they'll do a very basic training and get people organising running groups that literally are doorstep running groups. You leave your house, you almost fall over the runners that are going round. And lastly, we're talking an awful lot in England about membership and what is the role of federations behind all of this membership. What do they need to give to ensure that it's the quality that will keep people in sport, that we can really keep growing participation. So we asked, actually, what do people want from their membership? So we asked people who are already in clubs, so obviously they need to be kept satisfied, we need to retain them within the club. And we also asked people who are outside the club. So here, there's quite big differences. So what are governing bodies, what are federations offering people, both in and outside the club? So the key one for people in a club tends to be insurance. You think of the sports, the hockeys, rugbies, anything that's a bit more physical perhaps, they really want the insurance. So these federations are going out and selling the insurance. You've got to join a hockey, the England Hockey Board, because you've got to be insured to play. There's no hockey matches going on in England without people being members. Same with rugby, the same with an awful lot of sports. And yet, this isn't the main reason that people play a sport. So we look to a governing body which is mountaineering, and you can climb a mountain, you can climb a boulder, you can climb a climbing wall with no insurance. Your choice. You do not need to be a member of the British Mountaineering Council in order to do anything with their sport. And yet this sport is growing their numbers, it's growing their numbers of members, which is great for them, for revenue, but more importantly, it's growing their participants, people who aren't members. It's growing the whole of the sector of mountaineering. Just by being a voluntary organisation, perhaps about 15 paid members, at the top, is just driving it. And the key is that they're not selling insurance. The insurance isn't what is keeping people satisfied. It just is a byproduct, a little benefit. What is keeping people satisfied with mountaineering is the nice feeling that the membership can give them. If you become a member of mountaineering, and after listening to them speak, not too long ago I became a member of the British Mountaineering Council, they set it on saving the planet, they set it on saving a quarry to climb, on saving a mountain path so that other people can go walk, go hike, and go climb. They really sell the untangible benefits, and that's how they're growing their membership and getting more people interested in them. By the by, they've then put people onto direct debit. They've made it a special half-price offer to try and get people involved. And I mean, the numbers on the slide are incredible. They really have grown their membership by putting people into this direct debit offer. But people aren't cancelling. They are selling this nice feeling, this greenness, this saving the planet almost. And more than 90% of people, I think it's 93, on direct debit aren't cancelling. So their membership is just phenomenal. They're just keeping it going and going. And from that, ensuring that they have the money to deliver quality and to save more quarries and to save more cliffs. That was a quick trip through a few of the examples the governing bodies are doing, and hopefully making the link between satisfaction and retaining people in sport and giving them a quality experience. Thank you.